Does your child with ADHD have an IEP, or you think they need one? Then you've come to the right place. So many times as parents, we sit in school meetings and we're told this: it's just about motivation. It's just their behavior, or they're not trying hard enough, or worse yet, they're not going to qualify for an IEP. All of that is simply not true. Take a deep breath. I'm going to walk you through it. That's why inside this video, I'm going to take you behind the scenes of IEPs and 504 plans so you know how your child can qualify, key differences between IEPs and 504 plans, what to look out for inside your child's IEP, and most importantly, what to do if your school says no. Hey, what's up? I'm April Rarig, your special education advocate and school psychologist to make IEPs and 504 plans so much easier. If you're new here, go ahead and click on that subscribe button to get more videos like this in your inbox, and check us out on Instagram at RiseEdAdvocacy. Let's dive in. First things first, does ADHD qualify for an IEP? The answer is absolutely yes. Let me break it down. Under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, also known as an IDA law, your child can be assessed, found eligible, and qualify for special education and/or related services. What am I saying? I'm saying that your child does not need to have a medical diagnosis in order to be assessed or found eligible for special education services. I'm also saying, pro tip, it's so much more than just about academics for your child to be assessed and found eligible. So what is the deal? The deal is, under IDA law, your child could qualify in at least one out of up to 13 eligibility areas, depending on both federal and state regulations. More about these eligibility areas in just a minute. So let me ask you, does your child already have an IEP, but the meetings are going sideways? Then that's exactly why I want you to check out our first video playlist that lays out 5 things that you can do right now to fix your child's IEP and to get it back on track. Grab that link in the description box below. So let me clear up something before we get any further. The question was, does ADHD qualify for an IEP? So remember earlier I talked about being assessed and found eligible? Here's the answer. Yes, of course, ADHD can qualify for an IEP, but it doesn't mean it's an automatic guarantee. What am I saying? I'm saying the only way to know if your child is going to qualify for an IEP is to get them tested, not to hear the school say, oh, well, I don't think they need an IEP, or it's only this, or it's only that. Well, they haven't done a special education assessment by someone like me, the school psychologist, so the only way you know if they're going to qualify is to put that request in writing and get them tested. So now that you know your child can qualify for an IEP if they have ADHD, let's talk about which categories you want your child tested in. Before we dive into specific categories when it comes to those 13, I first want to put on my school psychologist hat and talk about broad-based eligibility criteria for special education services. So you need to know something called the 3-part test. Any one of those categories is going to have 3 requirements that your child needs to meet. Number 1, your child must demonstrate a disability, whether it is suspected or even a medical diagnosis. Pro tip for ADHD, you don't actually have to have a medical diagnosis to be assessed and found eligible. Number 2, that disability must adversely impact your child's educational performance. And number 3, most importantly, they must need special education and/or related services in order to access the core curriculum. So that is the 3-part test for all of those 13 eligibility areas. Now let's take a deeper look into which eligibilities you want to look for your child when it comes to IEPs. Here are the two most common eligibility areas that students with ADHD tend to qualify under. So just so you know, your child must meet both federal and state regulations in order to qualify for an IEP. So I'm going to give you the overall nutshell view of eligibility. So the first criteria most students with ADHD tend to qualify under is called Other Health Impairment. So in a nutshell, your child must exhibit limited vitality or alertness to environmental stimuli that's going to adversely impact their educational performance. And remember, I talked about earlier that 3-part test. Your child must need special education interrelated services in order to access the curriculum. Number 2, specific learning disability, also known as SLD. So here's the deal with SLD. It tends to be honestly much harder to qualify under this area, and here's why. Depending on your state rules and regulations, more than likely your child must exhibit a significant discrepancy between their overall academic ability and achievement, meaning there's gotta be big gaps. Now, some states use a discrepancy model, some states use what's called a patterns of strengths and weaknesses, some states use a combination, many states require there to be interventions or RTI done before. In a nutshell, what this means is it's gonna be much harder for your child to qualify. But here's the deal. Pro tip, your child can absolutely be assessed and found eligible for more than one eligibility. This brings me to the third category. There are so many other eligibility areas that your child could qualify under, and many students with IEPs for ADHD also have autism, they could have dyslexia, they could have speech and language concerns, they could have sensory impairments. Oh my goodness, it's not just ADHD and that's it. So many times students have multiple needs and complexities, and that's why you want to ask for the best assessment by someone like me, the school psychologist, or your evaluation team to determine if your child qualifies to get the best services for your child's needs. Here's something else your school may not tell you. Pro tip, you could also request for your child to be assessed for related services. What am I talking about? Your child could be assessed for speech and language services, occupational therapy, adaptive PT. They could be assessed and found eligible for a behavior intervention plan. What about an FBA, even for one-to-one assistance, assistive technology, transportation, health services? Oh my goodness. So what am I saying? I'm saying that it all comes down to that special education assessment request letter. And this is exactly why I want you to grab our additional testing request template. Inside our fillable guide, I guide you through how to tell your school that you want your child tested for an additional assessment, meaning they already have an IEP, but you want additional testing so that they can get the right eligibility areas based on your letter. And you can also clarify the scope and sequence in terms of what type of testing you would like your school to conduct and why. Make sure to grab that link in the description box below. Perhaps you're watching this video and you're like, okay, April, I get it when it comes to IEPs, but what about 504 plans? Specifically, what is the difference between an IEP and a 504 plan when it comes to eligibility criteria? And that's exactly why I want you to check out my first free guide that puts those criteria side by side so you can compare them and you can know what to ask for and how to get it. Make sure to grab that link in the description box below. So now we've talked about eligibility criteria. Let's dig a little bit deeper when it comes to crossovers or how they are similar when it comes to an IEP and a 504 plan. So both an IEP and a 504 plan must provide free, appropriate public education, also known as FAPE. Here's something else though that you may not know, a pro tip. Both an IEP and a 504 plan must provide assessments. They also must provide procedural safeguards. They also must provide periodic reviews. So what am I saying? I'm saying that both of those education plans involve so many nuances and crossovers and differences. And this is exactly why I want you to check out my next video that lays out an IEP and a 504 plan side by side, so you know the 10 different ways that they're similar and different and how they converge. Make sure to grab that link in the description box below. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Where do you want to look inside your child's IEP if they have ADHD to make sure that it's addressed? So here's the biggest problem that I see as a special education advocate, especially because I'm a school psychologist. The special education assessments need to form the baseline or the blueprint for the special education plan. What am I saying? I'm saying that there needs to be a direct connection between the areas of need identified in the report by someone like me, the school psychologist, or the rest of the team, and the education plan that they develop. This means that there needs to be multiple areas within the IEP that need to be connected with that test finding. So go get your child's last psychoeducational assessment and pull it up. Does the areas of need addressed by the school psychologist, has it been added into the IEP? Where does it show and how is this addressed? This is exactly why it all comes down to knowing what to ask for and how to get it. Let's talk about the 4 areas you want to look for inside your child's IEP if they have ADHD. Number 1, you want to look inside what's called the present levels of academic achievement and functional performance, also known as PLOF. So inside that PLOF, you want to see a narrative describing what your child can do, can't do, what they need to learn, and the barriers that are impacting their learning. So what am I saying? I'm saying that if they have ADHD, your team needs to discuss inside the present levels. Oh, they exhibit these challenges. Oh, this is their strength. Here are the accommodations I'm recommending. Here's the related services I'm recommending. Yes, it needs to be in the present level section. Here's why. Number 2, the next section you want to look at after the present levels is going to be the supplementary aids and services, also known as SAS. So inside SAS, this is going to be the accommodations or the modifications or what type of teaching and instructional strategies that your child needs. So that present level section I was talking about needs to be connected with the SAS, meaning if your child needs prompting and cueing, or they need additional behavioral support, you want to see it in the present level section, and you also want to see it in the SAS. Make sure to check out my second free guide that has a prompt hierarchy. And the reason why you want to get our free guide is because so many times if your child has ADHD, they're going to struggle with shortened attention span, self-regulation, code switching, all those areas. They're going to need prompts and cueing, and you want to make sure your IEP spells it out crystal clear. Grab that link in the description box below. The third area you want to look at is goals. So here's one of the biggest problems I see as a special education advocate and even as a school psych. So many times those goals are not related directly to your child's disability. So if they have ADHD and they struggle with shortened attention span, then more than likely they're going to need a goal to address that, whether it's a performance or an actual area of deficit. So the other thing you want to look for inside the goals is if they're struggling with behavior, if they're struggling with shortened attention, if they're struggling with task completion. All of those can be addressed inside the goal areas. The fourth area you want to look for inside your child's IEP if they have ADHD is services. Why? Because if your child is struggling, perhaps they need behavioral services. Perhaps they need a BCBA or a one-to-one aid. Perhaps they need services through executive functioning. Perhaps they need school-based counseling or social skills groups. All of those can be addressed on the services page. And just so you know, when you look at the services page, you want to make sure that the frequency, intensity, and duration of services is all going to be spelled out crystal clear on that services page. Let's talk a little bit about IEPs and discipline. Specifically, you need to know your rights. Here's the problem. Pro tip, so many times children that have IEPs or need IEPs, that behavior or that discipline is not going to be addressed in the IEP. And you need to know your rights and what to ask for and how to get it. And that's exactly why I want you to check out this video next that is really crystal clear and clarifies all the information when it comes to behavior and discipline, FBAs, behavior intervention plans. Oh my goodness, you need to know your rights and know your options so you can know how to advocate like a pro. Grab that link in the description box below. So let me ask you, what do you do if your school says no in an IEP meeting? Let me show you what I'm talking about. If your school says, oh, okay, yeah, we're gonna do that later, or if you say, I would like more services or different services, and they say no. So here's something your school may not tell you, pro tip. Under IDA law, if your school makes a change in the identification, evaluation, or placement, or you request for a change in that and your school says no, they need to give you what's called prior written notice, also known as PWN. What am I saying? I'm saying that your school needs to respond to you in writing when you make a request and they say no. Your school also needs to give you prior written notice before an assessment is done, before they recommend a change in placement. Oh my goodness, there's so many more safeguards and I want to give you all my knowledge. So here's the bottom line. The bottom line is if your IEPs are going sideways and your child has ADHD, the only way to make it better is to educate yourself on what does an IEP look like, how to participate, and fully pull up your chair at the IEP table. And that's exactly why I want you to check out my one-day IEP meetings workshop. So inside the workshop, it lays out all the content areas of an IEP, meaning I go through page by page so you can understand what your IEP is saying, and you can understand your rights and your safeguards when it comes to prior written notice, assessment, reading all those pages, and ultimately how to feel so much better walking in the door for your child's next IEP meeting. Make sure to grab that link in the description box below. So now you know so much more when it comes to ADHD and IEPs, the differences between an IEP and a 504 plan, eligibility criteria, what to look for inside your child's IEP, and most importantly, what to do if your school says no. Let me ask you something. Do you have a question? Put it in the link in the description box below. You want me to do more videos or expand on what I've already talked about? Put it there too. Like and subscribe to get more videos like this in your inbox, and check us out on Instagram at Advocacy. Grab all those links below so that you can advocate like a pro for your child with ADHD. I'm April Rare, your special education advocate and school psychologist. I can't wait to see you for our next video.